Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk to you about Mercury. And Mercury, as I'm sure many of you know and many of you can feel, is currently in retrograde. Yes, many other planets are also in retrograde. So it is very much a time of introspection. And they are teaching us many different things. But as with astrology and what I always say, it's the bigger picture. Everything is connected. So of course, Neptune, with his retrograde in Pisces, is lifting the veil on a lot, revealing a lot of hidden stuff, and where we might have suppressed certain things. Saturn is testing us, teaching us, and being quite harsh about it because he wants us to get into alignment with our soul's truth. We've got Uranus in retrograde, and of course, he's recently retrograded back into Taurus. So he's showing us where change is needed in our physical reality, and if our worth and values are aligned with that, as well as how we feel about our inner stability and security. We are in Scorpio season for a little while longer because later this week, the sun is going to ingress into Sagittarius. So we're going to move from fixed water into mutable fire. That should give us a bit of a boost, but we've still got planetary retrogrades going on. So we need to take that time to process what is coming up. And Mercury retrograde is no different. It's just this retrograde does get a bit of a bad reputation because of the chaos it can cause around technology, travel, but also, we need to be mindful during the Mercury retrograde of the small print for certain things. But in Sagittarius, where he started his retrograde, of course, that is the opposite sign to one of the signs he rules, because he rules Gemini. Sag is the opposite sign. So it is about coming out of a comfort zone in terms of our communication and our expression. With moving back into Scorpio, it's kind of like, right, we've looked at where we might need to motivate and big ourselves up a bit more. And we might feel comfortable doing that for other people, but maybe not for ourselves. We've had to look at that and where we need to take a chance on ourselves. And now, going into Scorpio, the depth of Scorpio, this is about getting honest and real with our communication. So how we need to show up in an honest, authentic way from a place of expression, and also being honest with ourselves, because we communicate with ourselves via our thoughts. We know that we need to get more in alignment with our intuition, but sometimes the mind can, of course, take over and we can overanalyze. It can cause stress and anxiety. So this is about going deep, Scorpio. This is about transformation. So it's actually where we're able to almost flick a switch and change the mindset of how we approach things. Again, it's how we communicate with ourselves via our thoughts in terms of our path forward. Recognizing the other retrogrades that's going on, what's going on for us generally at the moment with closing out cycles and, needing to understand patterns and the root causes of certain things in order to then move forward. We're gaining a lot of wisdom from all of those experiences. But are we then motivating ourselves to move forward? Are we being honest with ourselves about how we need to apply a different mindset, change in perspective, and so on? I mentioned about closing out cycles, and with Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, going over that cusp point between signs and then hitting the final anaretic degree, it's a further reminder of endings and beginnings. This has been a consistent theme this year with a lot of planets doing this. So recognize this as part of the introspection, that it is a valuable opportunity for us to cover old ground so that we can understand what we need to do to close out cycles, to close out patterns, and in this particular case, to close out self-limiting beliefs and thoughts. Same old story repeating itself. Okay, let's break the cycle. Let's move forward with that positivity in the direction of that which we're trying to get to. So we're covering old ground to do all of that, process it, not just suppress it further, but to process it. And it has to come up from the depth, Scorpio. It's not surface level, it's deep. So we got to go there. And the honesty of Scorpio is where it might feel challenging, because we have to go there. We have to go to that honest place in order to really embrace the transformation that's happening. It's almost like leaving no stone unturned with this transformation that we're going through. We've got to look at everything, which is why these planetary retrogrades are helping us. Okay, we need to have that perspective that they're teaching us something. They're showing us things so we can process, apply, release, move forward. Okay, so he's going to be in Scorpio in his retrograde for about 10 days or so, and then he will station direct. Yes, you're probably thinking, but we have the post shadow phase after, and of course he's going to then move back through Scorpio and then will ingress into Sagittarius, okay, in the near future. So with Mercury, obviously, you know, he's going to move around the zodiac quicker than the other planets are going to move around the zodiac, for example. So it's not like we're never going to get the opportunity for Mercury in Scorpio again. But it seems prevalent at the moment, this year particularly, because it's a 9 year, because this is all about shedding the layers that do not serve us, shedding the skin almost of what is not serving us. It's deeply transformative. So we've got to acknowledge that him going back into Scorpio during a retrograde is an opportunity for us to focus our thoughts and get us aligned with what we need to achieve. And I say that because just over 24 hours after he retrogrades back into Scorpio, we've got the new moon in Scorpio. So when this happens, when Mercury hits that final anaretic degree, the moon is already in Scorpio. Okay? But at the point of the new moon in Scorpio, Mercury will be in an exact conjunction with the moon and the sun. The degrees will be the same. The minutes will be different, but the degrees are the same. And I will be bringing you an astrology report on that, so look out for that if you're interested. But essentially, this is about now, this kind of foreshadowing of the new moon. We need to get those thoughts aligned with what we're trying to achieve as part of the transformative journey that we're on, because the new moon will come. And what do? We set intentions. And how do we do that? We express them. So it needs to be all aligned with the transformative journey ahead, the soul rebirth that we're experiencing, okay? And we're emerging like the phoenix from the ashes, like I've said before, as our true authentic self. And to get there, we've got to get rid of those patterns and the self-limiting beliefs and thoughts that we've had in the past, those that have been familiar, the false comfort blanket, in order to really, you know, break free of those chains, because that can hold us back in our thoughts. So recognize there's that. Now with the chart, and I have shared the chart and I've marked it up. I've shared it on my social media. So if you want to check that out, head to my Instagram or my TikTok. The chart will be there for you to see it. But essentially what we've got is we've got a grand water trine. This is the moment that Mercury retrogrades back and hits that final anaretic degree, by the way. We've got a grand water trine with Mercury, who is with the Sun and Lilith in Scorpio, in trine to Jupiter, retrograde in Cancer, also in trine to Neptune and Saturn, both retrograde in Pisces. This is big hitting energy. It's very impactful energy. So cardinal energy here is Cancer, so Jupiter. And there's a lot of inner growth and expansion going on with the Jupiter retrograde. All that expansion is happening internally for us because of what we're learning and what we're processing and what we're closing out. There is a need to be open to what Neptune is still showing us and what Saturn is still teaching us in order to receive that soul rebirth. And in turn, that brings further expansion, and it brings the luck and fortune of Jupiter as well, with the benefic energy of that. We do need to nurture ourselves through this process. We need to come from a place of unconditional love for ourselves on our journey. But we also need to go deep. So we're recognizing we've got to process a lot of stuff coming up to the surface from the depth, because Neptune's doing that. But also Scorpio energy is demanding that as well. And with Lilith in the mix in this grand trine, there's shadow aspects here that we need to pay attention to. She's also a great teacher along with Saturn. So she will show us what we truly desire and that which we might have suppressed from ourselves. Because of many reasons, fears, anxieties, other people telling us we can't do this, we can't do that, we can't have this, we can't have that, whatever it might be. Patterns that could be deep rooted from the past or even past lives. So the sun is there with that expansive soul energy, but still with the depth and calling for honesty. Okay, so we need to get real and raw with what is coming up, with what we're understanding about where our expression needs to be enhanced. So it is more of our authentic, real expression, and recognizing we do need to be honest about where we're going, the direction in which we're heading, and to be quite blunt with it. Now, I would say that, you know, the fire signs really have got the bluntness to it in terms of communication, as well as Saturn as well with the Capricornian energy. That could be quite blunt and harsh. But I feel that there's a blunt honesty with what's going on in Scorpio at the moment. We've got to acknowledge what is deep in the soul. So we have to be honest with ourselves to do that. And if we've been telling ourselves the same old story and it's created this like false depiction of reality, like we can't achieve something when actually we can, we have to be blunt and real with ourselves to get ourselves out of that pattern. Okay. And this grand trine, it's harmonious. So if we can apply all of that, come from a place of unconditional love, nurture ourselves through this process by acknowledging that there's a lot of stuff coming up that we need to take on board, we need to process, and some of it can feel quite challenging. But we're being, you know, with that openness, we're willing to actually look at it and reframe it in that positive way. So rather than, oh, this is coming up again and it's just adding to the doubts that I've got, it's almost like, no, this, I'm being shown this for a reason, so I can finally acknowledge this pattern and recognize where it's coming from. Like, where has this been coming from? And understanding that, so you're understanding the lesson of that as well. And it just enables further growth on this transformative journey. So I feel that's very positive, but we need to be open to that, and we need to be open to what's being shown, and we need to be open in terms of all of the retrogrades, but particularly with this one with Mercury and also Neptune and Saturn in the mix. It's definitely about being shown stuff relating to our expression, how we communicate with others and ourselves. I mean, it could be that something that's been holding us back is us needing to speak up for what we want, and maybe there's been some blocks there for whatever reason. The pattern is now being revealed, and then we can work on that, and that then frees up, liberates the throat chakra to communicate those things. Okay, everyone's story is going to be different if this is resonating at all. Okay, so that's the grand trine. Mercury will be in a harmonious sextile to Pluto, so it's absolutely underpinning the profound transformation that's going on, and Pluto rules Scorpio. So again, there's depth to this that's happening. And Aquarius, it's the new reality. I can't mention Mercury and also have this Aquarius link without saying that the technological age that's upon us, you know, there could also be something to reflect on here during the retrograde of how we are using the technology tools to help us and assist us moving forward, not to replace us, but to assist us moving forward. Is that part of the transformative journey that you're on? Okay, looking at that. And Pluto will also be in sextile to Neptune in Pisces retrograde and Ceres in Aries, because they're close by. So the seeds that we are planting, metaphorically speaking, in terms of what we want to achieve, and again, how we're nurturing ourselves through that, is very fundamental to this transformation. So with Ceres in Aries, it's about what we want. Okay, we need to be driven by the self in terms of what we want. That's assisting the transformation, and also by us recognizing that and what Neptune could be showing us about where we've held ourselves back from what we want. It's then understanding how our communication, our expression, our thoughts need to adjust and adapt to allow us to feel free enough to do that for ourselves. Okay, that's another thing going on. There is a direct opposition with Uranus retrograde in Taurus because he is at the final anaretic degree of Taurus still. He moves slower, okay? So Mercury hitting that 29 degrees of Scorpio, there is a direct opposition. So yes, there is still this kind of resistance with getting out of our comfort zone and feeling secure enough in ourselves and our physical reality to create the change that we want to. And perhaps our expression is fundamental to that. But there needs to be an acknowledgement of that, because if we're holding on to self-limiting beliefs that we can't create that inner stability for ourselves because we don't feel worthy, we don't have our values aligned, then that is where it might have held back our expression, for example, okay? Or even, again, just with the thoughts, having that mindset shift because now we're focused on the path ahead, okay? Because of what has come up and what we've been shown. The other thing to mention, and this is also harmonious, so the chart at the time of Mercury retrograding back into Scorpio, hitting 29 degrees, 59 minutes, the midheaven of the chart as an event is in Cancer. And there is a sextile from the midheaven to the South Node in Virgo. And the South Node in Virgo is also in sextile to Venus and the Moon in Scorpio. So I looked at that and I thought straight away, this is about aspiring to detach from the past that's not serving us, those past patterns. And again, self-limiting beliefs can be part of that. But the perception of what we've held on to, of how things should be, we need to move away from that. Okay, so let's aspire to do that from a place of unconditional love. And also recognize that our values are a massive part of that. So we need to get our values in alignment with what we're trying to achieve. Adjust where we're investing our energy, our time, our love, our money, our inner resources. Recognize that relationships could be a part of this. You know, love and money came through intuitively for me in relation to, you know, when I saw this sextile. And with the moon being there with Venus at this particular point, it's about, you know, going deep in the feelings and being honest about feelings when it comes to that which we need to detach from, pertaining to love and money, perceptions of it, for example, how things need to be, how things should be, and we need to just aspire to detach from that, okay? Any cycles that are not serving us, that's keeping us in a loop, okay? That's what that feels like, all right? So there's quite a lot going on in the chart, and as I mentioned, you know, this is happening, and then just over 24 hours later, we've got the new moon in Scorpio. And yeah, it's coming at the end of Scorpio season, really, because, you know, at the end of the week, we're going to be in Sag season. So it's almost like, you know, we've had to go through Scorpio season, going deep, understanding what the planetary retrogrades are showing us and telling us and revealing. And then we get to set our intentions for the next lunar cycle ahead, which is another new beginning, by the way. It's another new cycle, by recognizing what has come up. So it's almost like, okay, I recognize that with this particular retrograde, I've been shown this. So therefore, one of my intentions is to investigate, look into, be curious about, be open to understanding why that keeps coming up for me. And if I can get to the root cause of that, I can release it and move forward on my transformative journey. It could be that there's many different things coming up and you're trying to seek clarity and go within, so you could be setting intentions for that. It could be a number of things, but this is about, with the scorpionic energy of this new moon that's coming up, it's about aligning with the transformation that's being called for. So setting intentions for your transformative path. It's something different, completely different to that which you've known before. It's a new you moving forward in a positive way. And even though, okay, everything might not be fully understood or released at that point, that's not a problem. It's not like you're under any pressure to do that ready for the new moon, okay? But it is setting the intentions, because even having a bit of an action plan with your intention settings, it's that awareness and it's that call to the divine, I guess, of saying, well, you know, this is my situation. I've got to work through a lot of stuff. I recognize this, I recognize that. This is how I might need to apply it going forward. And being kind with yourself because of that essence of the unconditional love. Not trying to go full steam at things. There is actually a square with Mars and Juno going to the North Node. So the challenging aspect is being committed to the path, but the committed action we need to take relating to our purpose, because we might need to understand a bit more with the Sag energy. We might need to learn a bit more, discover a bit more first before we can fully take the action. Okay, it could simply be understanding the action that we need in order to progress forward in the direction of our purpose, and being open to discovering what's coming up. Okay, there could be many different things. And as I say, if it resonates at all for you, if it doesn't, you would have clicked off by now, I'm sure. So I just wanted to leave you with that. As I say, the chart that's marked up is on my social media. You can find that if you want to see it. I will be bringing you a further astrology report on this upcoming new moon. So I'm going to be mentioning Mercury in that because, of course, we've got the exact conjunction happening. And then later in the week, Sun will move into Sagittarius. So we're in mutable fire energy that should give us a bit of a boost. And then next week, so the last week of November, Saturn will station direct and Mercury will station direct. So we've got a couple of planets that are then switching back on, if you like. And it's not to say we're out of the woods with it, because Saturn is still going to be in Pisces until February next year. So we've still got lessons to learn as regards our spiritual integrity. And it's very important, it's incumbent upon us to get aligned with our spiritual truth. Because Saturn in Pisces, you know, the next time he comes around, many of us might not be here. So, you know, we need to just take account of what he is showing us for our own highest good in relation to this path that we're on. See it as a valuable opportunity of introspection and what's coming up. It's just with Saturn, it can be done in quite a harsh way because he wants us aligned with our path. And really, if we adopt those principles, we want to achieve this, we can have that drive and determination to do it, then we're aligning with that. But often we need to feel into things, we need to understand why things are coming up, process different emotions, and that's all part of the process as well. And that's absolutely okay for us to do. Okay, so I'll leave it there. As I say, you will see more reports coming out on the upcoming planetary events over the next couple of weeks. Stay true to you. Recognize and understand why things are coming up, what it's teaching you. And feel free, of course, to leave a comment below in terms of how this retrograde energy is playing out for you, what you've learned so far, if you want to share that, or even if there's a particular planetary retrograde that, you know, you're finding is resonating, I wanted to kind of say resonant, is resonating with you more than the other ones, okay? Because that can also be playing out for us. You know, it's the bigger picture, but there might be more emphasis for us in a certain direction. You know, it could be the Neptunian stuff, it could be the Saturnian stuff, it could be what Uranus is really wanting us to go through. So yeah, everyone's on their own journey, of course, but leave a comment, of course, like and subscribe for more content. It really helps me get the message out to more people, and also to try and adapt my content to suit my audience as well, because I recognize some people like to see the chart, other people might not want to see the chart, but for me it just gives a guidance of the aspects. So, you know, if you're interested in that, again, leave me a comment and let me know. Until the next one, I will see you soon. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the next video.